Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wassalam ala rasulillah. My dear beloved brothers and sisters, it's the month of Ramadan and we're all worshiping inshallah, and you guys are doing a lot of good deeds and keeping your blessings and multiplying them. So today we're gonna talk about something different. We're not gonna talk about religious knowledge and research and the good deeds that we need to do. We're gonna talk about romance. I don't think you guys knew that I was romantic, but today we're gonna talk about romance. I'm going to start a little bit early. I'm going to about 20, 30 years ago for some of you that have been married for 20, 30 years ago, and maybe you're in one country and your wife and fiance back then was in a different country when you were engaged, and she would send you a letter and you're just sitting there reading it, and then you're reading the letter again. It's not the words that are going to change, but you just love that person so much that you want to read it. And maybe you, sister, are sitting there and you get that letter from him, and you save the envelope. It's got to be in the same envelope, and you put it in there and you hide it for years and years, and it just stays there because it's a letter that came from someone that is so special, someone that's dear to you that you love so much. Nowadays it's a little bit different. Now that we have this technology with cell phones and texting and calling and everything else, it's different, but the romance is still there. When I get a message, when I get a call from someone that I love, I remember we had a friend that was very rough and tough, and his voice was very, when he spoke you could hear him. And he got engaged, and all of us used to make fun of him because when he spoke with us guys, he was always arguing so loud. But when he got that phone call from the girl that he was engaged to and about to get married, you should see him. He goes from, and then the phone call is like, hello, assalamu alaikum, and he just changed 500%. How when we get a message from someone that we love, when we get that call, when we got that letter from someone that we love, that we get attached to it and we want to read it over and over and over again. Well, today I want to reintroduce myself and reintroduce all of us to the most sweetest romantic letter in history. What is that letter? It's called the Quran. Can you believe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the one that created the heavens and the earth, the one that loves us so much, that He created us in stages in the wombs of our mothers for 9 months, making sure that we got the best, most amazing process of nutrition, that we stayed in the womb for 9 months and growing, and we came to this world, and we had our fathers and mothers watching over us, and He just protected us and loved us from the moment of our conception for our entire life, that He's watching over us, making sure that our heart beats perfectly in tune, that our minds work, that our sight, our vision, our hearing, how much love that He has. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reveals this book, the connection, the letter that says, I love you. Allah says in the Quran, Yuridullah. Allah loves, Allah wants what? Yuridullahu an yukhaffifa ankum. Allah wants to make things easier, less complex, easy for you. That's how much He loves you. And that's why every command that's in the Quran, Allah says, وَأَحَلَّ لَكُمُ الطَّيِّبَاتِ. If it's something that is good, He basically is revealing and confessing to you, if something is good, I want you to have it. And it says, وَحَرَّمَ عَلَيْكُمُ الْخَبَائِثِ. If something is going to hurt you in any way, emotionally, physically, mentally, then no, stay away from it. It's haram, stay away from it. It's just a message of love, and we need to see it that way. When Allah speaks about nature, when Allah speaks about the stars and the moons, and how romantic it is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, زَيَّنَّ السَّمَاءَ الدُّنْيَا بِمَصَابِيحِ, that we have lit the heavens, stars that are burning, and this amazing sun that's just glowing and burning. Why? For you to be amazed with this beautiful decoration. It's how much I love you. You know how when you're in love and you take your wife or whatever to the mall and say you like this and you buy it, it's because I love you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, you see all this decoration and the stars and moon and everything else, it's there because I love you. You see what's in the earth and everything that's growing? وَأَخْرَجَ لَكُمْ. I bring it up for who? For you. That's how much I love you. This is what this Quran is. It's the most romantic message from the most powerful, most loving Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that is why we have, I'm not saying read the Quran, I'm saying we have to love the Quran. We have to love the Quran, not just read it. Reading is one thing. We're not talking about reading the Quran. We're talking about loving the Quran. In one hadith, the Prophet ﷺ, and see how amazing this is. The Prophet ﷺ in hadith, which I believe is in Sahih Bukhari and in Sahih Muslim. The Prophet ﷺ sends a group of people in a journey, and he puts one of them as the Amir. And it's a sunnah that whenever a group of people are traveling, that one of them becomes their leader. You assign one as the leader that makes the decision of where to stop, where to go, what to do, and so on. So he put one of them as the Amir, as the leader of the group. And they went, and it was time for Dhuhr prayer, for Maghrib prayer. So he led the Maghrib prayer. He read Surah Al-Fatiha, he read another surah, and after the other surah he read, قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدْ اللَّهُ الصَّمَدْ لَمْ يَلِدْ وَلَمْ يُولَدْ وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ كُفُوًا أَحَدٌ. Done. In the second rak'ah, he reads a surah and another Surah Al-Fatiha and another surah. But then after that he reads قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدْ again. قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ الصَّمَدْ لَمْ يَلِدْ وَلَمْ يُولَدْ وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ كُفُوًا أَحَدٌ. And in Isha he does the same thing, reads Surah Al-Fatiha and another surah, and then after that he reads قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدْ. And in the second rak'ah of Surah Al-Isha he reads a surah, Surah Al-Fatiha and another surah. But then after that he also adds قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدْ. And so the Sahaba that are with him are like, hey, what are you doing? He said, the Prophet ﷺ said, I'm your leader, I'm your Amir, so you have to pray behind me. Don't you argue with me. They said, but you're always reading, you already read Surah Al-Fatiha and another surah. Why are you reading Qul Huwallahu? He said, none of your business. I'm the Amir, I'm the leader, and you guys follow me. So they followed him because the Prophet ﷺ said, you follow your leader. But when they came back, they went to the Prophet ﷺ. He said, how was he, and how was the trip, and how was your leader? They said, the trip was great, we were successful, we accomplished this. Our leader was amazing, he took good care, made sure everybody was served before he served himself. However, whenever he led the salah, he would do what? He would read Surah Al-Fatiha and another surah, but then after that he would read Qul Huwallahu Ahad. And the Prophet ﷺ looked at him and said, did you do that? He said, yes. The Prophet ﷺ said, why did you read Qul Huwallahu Ahad at the end of every rak'ah? After you read the Fatiha and you read another surah, why are you reading Qul Huwallahu Ahad at every surah, at every rak'ah? He said, Ya Rasulullah, inni uhib Qul Huwallahu Ahad. Prophet of Allah, I love Qul Huwallahu Ahad. The Prophet ﷺ said, حُبَّهَا أَدْخَلَكَ الْجَنَّةِ. Your love for Qul Huwallahu Ahad has admitted you to Jannah. This is the most powerful romantic letter. It comes from the most powerful Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, telling you how He feels about you and how He feels about your creation and life and what He wants you to do and what He wants you to stay away from. He tells you about the history of humanity, story after story that will strengthen your faith and make your life so more beautiful. He tells you about relationships and how you should, choose the person that you love and marry and who to stay away from. And he tells you what you could talk about and how to, acquire friends and win friends over and who to avoid and what not to say so that you can keep that honorable position it's just a book of full love. Brothers and sisters, if you don't believe me, that's the most powerful romantic book. Think about this. There's a chapter called Taha, and Taha is either an abbreviated words like Alif, Lam, Mim, or one of the names of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. So the Prophet, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is making an oath by the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. He says, Taha, ma anzalna alayka al-Qur'an litashqa. I did not reveal this Qur'an for you to ever struggle or be worried. Allah is speaking to all of us in this Qur'an and saying, I did not reveal this Qur'an for you. I did not send you this love letter so that you will struggle. ما أنزلنا على القرآن لتشقى. What is it? تذكرة لمن يخشى. It is just a reminder to those that are mindful, those that are fearful of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, those that honor Allah because Allah loves them. تذكرة لمن يخشى. تنزيلا ممن خلق الأرض والسماوات العلى. It has been revealed, it's been sent, this message has been texted to you, it's been forwarded to you, has been sent to you, revealed to you. From who? From the one that created this earth for you. And the Jannah for you. تنزيل ممن خلق الأرض والسماوات العلى. الرحمن على العرش استوى. It is Him, Allah, or is beyond the throne. And again, we don't describe it as Muslims, but we say Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is beyond the throne. What does beyond the throne means? Beyond the throne, number one, He did not say, in this case, He did not say Allah. He did not say Al-Aziz. He did not say Al-Hakim. He said Ar-Rahman. Ar-Rahman means what? The mercy giving. Not only is He merciful, but He's the one that placed the mercy in the hearts of each and every one of us and all those animals and creatures and whatever. Ar-Rahman, the one that put all that mercy, He is above the throne. What does above the throne means? Were you ever scared at night when you were a little kid? Were you ever a little kid? And it happened to me so many times where I'll hear some noise and maybe it's raining and then you hear something out there. But then I remember Baba is home, Dad is home. Dad is home means I'm protected. Nobody's going to break in. I don't care if a thief comes in. Superman, my father, is out there. So I'm not too worried. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, if you're ever worried about anything, remember, here you are, little, the whole world and everything that might benefit you and hurt you, and Allah is above the throne. The Rahman, the merciful, is above the throne watching over you. I don't know what to say more than brothers and sisters. Let's start reading this book out of love for it. Don't worry too much about reading a lot as much as you care about loving the Quran. And this romantic letter is the only letter that you get rewarded for reading. The Prophet ﷺ says every single letter that you read in the Quran, you get rewarded for it. And he says, I don't mean alif, lam, mim is a word or a letter. No, a letter literally is a letter. When you say alif, that's a good deed. Lam is a good deed. Mim is a good deed. And you get rewarded, not one, because multiplied by 10 times, so you get 10 rewards. 10 hasanat for saying alif, 10 hasanat for saying lam, 10 hasanat for saying mim. What about someone that reads an entire juz or Surah Yasin or Surah Al-Fatiha, letter after letter after letter? But what I want to try to say in this month of Ramadan is, brothers and sisters, we need to refresh our hearts, re-energize our hearts to read this most romantic letter from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you want to know your position in Jannah on the Day of Judgment, if you want to know, you know how some, if you just want to know how much does Allah love me and how much do I love Allah, just look at this book. And how many times do you open this envelope to remind yourself of the beautiful message that the sender and the writer and the author, the one that spoke the word of this book, has to you. And if you feel, inshallah, this month of Ramadan, that more and more you want to read it, more and more you're attached to it, more and more, I didn't read the entire gist today. Let me get up and read it right now. Turn the TV off, turn the whatever off. I can chat later. I can play that game later. I can take a nap later. I want to get closer to it. And brothers and sisters, there's no one that knew this Quran more than the Prophet ﷺ and the Sahaba and Ali Baytih. And Allah describes them in Surah Al-Sajdah, the prostration, Surah Al-Sajdah, and says, تَتَجَافَى جُنُوبُهُمْ عَنِ الْمَضَاجِعِ يَدْعُونَ رَبَّهُمْ خَوْفًا وَطَمَعًا. That at night, the Sahaba and the Prophet ﷺ and Ali Baytih, they're so tired and they want to sleep. But then تَتَجَافَى, junub means they're asleep. They're trying to rest on their sides and go to bed. But then they wake up, they're like, no, let me open up the Quran. Let me recite it. Let me stand up and read it in my salah. A lot of us read the Quran in Taraweeh, and oh my God, if you can read one juz at night, you think you have broken a record. And I conclude with this to see how much love the Prophet ﷺ had and how much we need to re-energize our love to the Quran to make sure that we're reading it every day out of love to receive that message that Allah is sending us. One of the Sahaba saw the Prophet ﷺ in the normal night, not in the month of Ramadan, doing the Qiyam, doing the Taraweeh as we call it today. So he came and stood next to the Prophet ﷺ. And he said the Prophet ﷺ started by reading Surah Al-Baqarah. And so he said, I said he's going to read the first third of Surah Al-Baqarah and make the sujood, which is about a juz. And he said he continued. So I said maybe he's going to read the second third of Surah Al-Baqarah, so about 2 juz. And he said the Prophet ﷺ completed Surah Al-Baqarah. And then he started reading Surah Al-Imran. I said maybe he'll read the first half of it. And he said he completed it. And then he went into Surah Al-Nisa. And then he was Surah Al-Ma'idah and Surah Al-An'am. فَقَرَأَ بِالصَّبْعِ الطِّوَالِ. The Prophet ﷺ in one rak'ah, he read the 7 longest chapters in the Quran in one rak'ah, in a normal night. Those 7, you're talking about almost 10 juz of the Quran in one rak'ah, in one standing. Why? Because he felt the love of reading the Quran. He's connecting. He knows whose word he's speaking. He's brothers and sisters, all I can say in this month of Ramadan, I promise you and I want you to promise me that we're going to try and reconnect with the Quran full of love. For those of us that felt in love and used to get those envelopes and we hide the envelope in there for days and open it up back and remember who sent it, and stuff. When we get that phone call, when we get that text message and you're upset and mad at your friends, but then she sends you that text message and you're like, suddenly there's just a smile in your face. You're trying to hide it because it came from someone that you love. We have a message from one, not only that loves us, but everything and everyone that loves us, he put the love in their hearts. So brothers and sisters, let's commit to that in the month of Ramadan, the love of the Quran. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless your family. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And you know what? I lied. I said that was the last story, but let me add one more. Just because I really want us to love this Quran, if we know how much the speaker of the Quran loves us, the one that sent us the Quran loves us. The Prophet ﷺ was traveling, the Muslim army was going in a battle. And the Sahabi came to the Prophet ﷺ and said, Prophet of Allah, I'm very sick, so I can't battle. Would you excuse me? And the Prophet ﷺ saw him in front of him. He was very, very sick, so he excused him and said, you don't have to go. And they went in the journey, and alhamdulillah, in the battle, the Muslims were victorious. They came back, they're tired, it's late at night. They didn't make it to Medina. So in the middle of the desert, everybody put their tent, and the Prophet ﷺ said, we're going to rest here. We're going to sleep here overnight. And late at night, as the Prophet ﷺ was sleeping, someone is standing by the door of the tent of the Prophet ﷺ and is screaming in a very loud voice, Ya Muhammad, Ya Muhammad. And the Prophet ﷺ wakes up and he's worried, what's going on? Who's screaming? And he looks out and it's Jibreel ﷺ, Angel Jibreel. And the Prophet ﷺ asked him, Jibreel, what's wrong? What happened? He said, Ya Muhammad, nazalt wa ma'iya alfun min al-malaika. I just came down from heaven. With me are 1,000 angels. They have never descended to this to planet Earth before, to this dunya before. Now the Prophet ﷺ knows that something serious has happened. Jibreel with 1,000 angels came down. What is going on? So the Prophet ﷺ, because we all want to know, the Prophet ﷺ asked Jibreel, what happened? What's going on? Jibreel ﷺ says, a man, you remember that man that was sick in Medina? He passed away and died. So I came down and 1,000 angels to pray Salat al-Janazah on him, the funeral prayer on him, on the man that passed. So all of us want to know, what is so special about him that Jibreel ﷺ and 1,000 angels that never came down before descended down to pray on him? The Prophet ﷺ said, and why did they all come down? And why did you come down to pray janazah on him? What is so special? What is that action that he did? He said, Muhammad, innahu kana yuhib, qul huwa Allahu ahad. He loved this book. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us with the love of this book, and reading this book and reciting this book and memorizing this book and reading the explanation and the interpretation and the translation of this book and living by this book and entering our graves loving this book, because when we enter our graves, guess what? This book, the Quran, comes in the shape of a most handsome creature that's going to protect us and shield us. And on the Day of Judgment, you go to the highest points in Jannah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, on the Day of Judgment, Allah says, Iqra warqa. Recite the Quran that you used to recite, and every verse that you recite, you go to a higher position, a more VIP, a more special and customized place just for those that used to recite and memorize and read and live by the Quran. I love the Quran, and I hope all of us love it the most that we can. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us in this dunya with the most powerful and romantic message. Jazakumullah khair for your valuable time. Assalamu alaikum.